Where was Kulin? I mean, was he in your same team or you saw him across the table?
So both of us met at our last company. Kulin was part of my client's team. So Kulin was a client to me.
So you had interaction with him?
I told to Kulin. Kulin said, "Abhi nahi." At that point of time, he was just going for a break, and luckily for me, COVID happened.
So he tells me that अब तो COVID हो रहा है. Now you can't go. So what will you do? I said I'll figure out something. He said no one's hiring also right now. Now what will you do?
It's always better to have one more co-founder.
Probably I knew that I am somebody who's going to be an entrepreneur. People say मेरा कोई boss नहीं होना चाहिए या मैं rule करूँगा या I want to be the boss.
To be very honest, if people think that becoming an entrepreneur and running a startup is all about that you want to become your boss, no, it's not like that. Every morning when you are going to wake up, there are kind of three thoughts that comes to your mind. You are responsible to your team members. In our case, 300 team members.
Normally you don't pick their call, but just then you just pick a call. Arey, I'm in Anil Kumble's house. Can you please call me later? Something like that.
No, I think we didn't go that far. I didn't think we didn't go that
Utna bada
far.
meeting nahi tha. It's more like a 30-40 minutes meeting discussion.
I have taken a photograph and sent it to my friends and said, भाई अनिल कुंबले के साथ फोटोग्राफ खिंचाया.
Welcome to the 5th episode of Founders Fun Network. I have with me Kulin and Yogesh from a company called Onsurity. I don't want to tell anything about Onsurity, but I want to actually first hear it from the founders themselves. If Kulin and Yogesh, thank you so much for taking out time and coming and joining us here. Before I even start on your personal journey, if you can tell all of us what Onsurity is and what it stands for.
Right. First of all, thank you for having us. Right. I think we're looking forward to the discussion with you. Right. And when it comes to Onsurity, I think we'll tell you our personal views about Onsurity. So I think I can have something and Yogesh can have something about it. Right. For me, Onsurity is providing access to the most important necessity of life called healthcare, right? To those people in India who possibly can afford it but don't have an access to, right? Onsurity is for us creating a great experience so that more and more people believe that the healthcare and wellness products and solutions that we provide today is something that is actually truly worth, what they are paying for, and hence they will kind of go ahead and put it as a word of mouth, saying that yes, at least someone has solved this for us. So that's Onsurity for me.
Right. Yeah. So for me, Onsurity is basically how we can actually make. Of course, Kulin had covered about the entire health and wellness. That how can we make health and wellness more accessible? Right. Of course, one thing what Kulin mentioned that might be people can afford it out, but we are trying to make it accessible. Over a period of time, affording a healthcare or your health bills will slightly becoming unaffordable, and you need to manage that risk overall. Right. So how we look at for Onsurity is that how can we create or make Onsurity as a platform where individuals coming from different strata of society can use our platform to manage their risk, be it like a small SMEs, small startups, big startups, where they can actually use our platform and use Onsurity as a product in order to manage and mitigate different risks what they face it out.
Yeah. Right, great. So we are very interested to know how your childhoods have been, and where did you, where were you born, and how did you land up in Bangalore, and what happened before Onsurity, and some of your personal trait. Like I definitely sometimes feel that now at the hindsight, that probably I knew that I am somebody who's going to be an entrepreneur, right? Some people say it in different ways. Some people say मैं मेरा कोई boss नहीं होना चाहिए, या मैं rule करूँगा, या I want to be the boss kind. So I think it comes out in different ways. But if you can start from your childhood, Yogesh, and tell us how your childhood have been till now.
So, in terms of my childhood, born and brought up in Calcutta, was part of a Marwadi family. So, business, doing your own business was, I think, was running from generations in the family. So, I was part of a generation which was transiting from business to kind of a service kind of a thing. So that means had to go very hard on education. So throughout the childhood, education was the most critical uh, benchmark for my parents, that how well I am studying it across. So had to focus a lot on education, and I think it was only education that was part of the life, and my dad's business. So was part of my. It was a small shop. Was part of that particular business from very early days of my life. I think I was when I was like 13-year-old. So I was being part of my dad's business. So, and at one point of time was looking after my dad's business, doing my chartered accountancy course, doing my actual course, and doing my bachelor's in education. So mostly the childhood had gone only with the education. So was fond of maths extremely. So my passion for maths was extremely high. That had actually followed up taking me taking up actual science overall. And in terms of my after means from the childhood part, when I landed to my first job, it was also all about number crunching. So number crunching, understanding numbers is the overall thing that I've done almost like from last 20 years. So,
Okay. So I am born and brought up in Bombay, and our family business is to be import export, and my dad was responsible for all the business development out there, and obviously dad's health took a little bit of a toll, so he decided to kind of wrap that up. But after that also he went on to, like every other Gujarati family, found passion in in the stock market. So like growing up, there was no one around us who was in the the formal segment of someone's going and working in a company or something, right? So right from similar to Yogesh, right from the childhood, right, we were used to be filling up application forms and putting in the checks and all of those things. We said, "Acha, this is what business means," right? Uh, then post the 10th standard, right? That time we thought we'll create a first of its kind website, and create a whole portal for education. Tried to create that portal after 10th, and what we realized is that by the time we got our college admissions, we abandoned the idea while there were institutes who were ready to work with us. So I think that was the first time we thought, "Acha, kuch karenge." Now today it's called EdTech. That time it was a website. And then during my BMS days, tried to start a import-export business. Wanted to sell CDs because CDs were a big commodity that time. Wanted to do around wedding cards. We've done sampling and all. But third year was the final year, so we again abandoned that. And I think there was this, inside, somewhere down the line, I felt that there's that, unfinished business with entrepreneurship, right? So did my first entrepreneurship in 2011. That didn't take off the way it should have taken off, and we were acqui-hired by, free charge. And at that point of time, also felt that you're not driven that impact that you want to drive. And I think all those unfinished business of around entrepreneurship and those emotions saying that nahi yaar, kuch to need to do something that is impactful. I think that's led to Onsurity.
Wow. So you both don't know each other from childhood, right? So how you both met, and why did you decide to join hands and start something like Onsurity?
So both of us met at our last company, and so over there I was part of again building products, insurance, numbers, etc. And after building the products for Kulin and Kulin's team, Kulin team was responsible for the entire P&L distribution, making sure that we deliver good with the partners and try to bring out the innovation out of insurance. Because of course, insurance is something a boring element. It's not like an e-commerce where you order something and something gets delivered next to your door next day. So in insurance, you are paying for just a paper and you can get a benefit, you cannot, but it's still a risk protection. So both of us enjoyed working together in our last company. Effectively, was being instrumental in launching, delivering first in kind of the products. Then suddenly, what had happened that uh, again in our last company, I was not part of the formal payroll of that company. I was working like a consultant with my own team, who was providing the company consulting services. So for us, what had happened that for me, for my consulting business, that couple of our employees, my consulting business employees, wanted to get healthcare benefits, and I talked to a lot of my connects who can cover my consulting company and provide my team members health insurance and health benefits. But most of the insurance companies to whom I connected or with whom I have previously worked with, everyone had said no.
And this is a person from insurance asking his people in the fraternity that I want to cover my about 10 employees at
10
the company?
employees. Yeah. So that is where given an idea that there are like huge number of small businesses in India. Might be something similar to my dad's business, to a consulting firm, to even a startups who would be having like 20 to 50 employees. They are definitely not getting a right product from the insurance market. Had
Saw a clear problem there.
so saw a clear problem, and I think I have read somewhere that if a startup idea comes to you where you are actually have faced that particular problem, you will be able to better solve that particular problem. And coming from the insurance fraternity, I was knowing why people were not providing these benefits to SME and their employees. So the idea was got very clear. Brainstormed these ideas with Kulin. Kulin had identified a lot of problems, had asked me.
Let me stop you right there. So where was Kulin? I mean, was he in your same team, or you saw him across the table in a few?
Kulin was part of my client's team. So Kulin was a client to me.
So you had interaction with him.
I had a regular kind of an interaction with him because
because I've also been kind of a part of the startup ecosystem, right? So he wanted to figure out what does this startup journey look like, right? Coming from the insurance space, right? The whole thing was, listen, what do you do in this kind of a thing when you have the idea? What do you do next, right? So this, and he knew that I used to also kind of mentor a few startups. So I think he just wanted an advice that what do I do next, kind of a thing.
Yeah, so discussed it out with Kulin. Then I after not only Kulin but with a lot of other, not a lot of, but 7-8 more people discussed the idea. People had validated the idea, and this was like pre-COVID. Like I'm just talking about 2019, when still healthcare awareness was very, very, very minimal at that time. So got some mixed feedback, but couple of feedback and the validation had prompted me, let's start it out. Met a couple of, started developing a POC of the product. Because in which ways I was having a team. So with the help of the team in my consulting business, started developing some prototype, discussed those prototypes with again some industry veterans, some potential investors. and somehow in one or two discussion got a term sheet for the
Okay.
investment. I think it was all luck, but and also got the term sheet from one of the reputed investor, Nexus Ventures partner.
Right.
Now, what Nexus had given me a feedback after giving the term sheet that it's always better to have one more co-founder because the
Until the decision has not been made, you're as to that you're going to come together.
No.
partner.
no.
Okay.
So the decision had not been made. I got the term sheet. The closing date was also finalized. It was not subject to anything at that point of time.
Okay.
But one or two feedback that I received from the investor is basically it's going to be a very hard journey, very lonely journey.
Right.
And it's always better to get someone who can complement you.
Right.
So for me, understood it out that what are my core skill set, more about technical guy, can build models, can build insurance products, but what about who can help me to take the product to the market, who can help the right product market fit. And the first person, given that I was very working closely with Kulin from almost 3 years,
Right.
told to Kulin. Kulin said, Abhi nahi, at that point of time because there is some unfinished business I need to complete. Somehow or the other, he wanted to take a break at that time. He was just going for a break, and luckily for me, COVID happened.
Right.
So he just got the visa, and after 20 days, he was about to move to the US for almost a year, year and a half,
Right.
and COVID happened. And the reason why he was going to the US.
So he tells me that अब तो COVID हो रहा है. Now you can't go.
Yeah.
So what will you do?
Yeah.
I said, I'll figure out something. He said, no one's hiring also right now. Now what will you do? I said, I'll still figure out something. He said, you don't have any options. Just come and become my co-founder. That's the only option you have.
So Kulin joined.
So if you have to put like 3-4 characteristics of Kulin and what made you decide that apart from his startup knowledge and things like that.
So almost, if I would tell, he really covered all my weaknesses.
Okay.
If I will tell you, basically, I'm not very good in distribution. I'm not very good in connecting with people. So Kulin complement it around.
Right.
Similarly, Kulin Kulin is much more experienced than me. So he bring lot of experience and because I was at that time almost like a 29-year-old guy. And at that time, people just figuring it out कि क्या करना है life में. I was just still trying to accelerate it out. So wanted someone who can really direct me into a right direction. So Kulin brings all those stuff, the steadiness that you require, the right mentorship that is required is something. It's not about at that moment. From almost like during all my interaction with Kulin since like let's say before starting Onsurity since 2017.
Right.
All of these I have got it out. So that's where I thought ki Kulin would be the best person whom I can onboard as a co-founder.
Right. And he keeps smiling. I don't know, is it like since childhood or might be that is also one of the reasons that you feel he's very approachable or he's very at ease. Is that the thing also? He's
naturally it comes from him. It's not like he's portraying or it's quite natural. Ki even if he will speak to anyone on the floor. Again, there are like some heated discussions that would have happened 10 minutes back. After 10 minutes of reset, the smile comes back. And just want to pray that it keeps on happening.
That's good.
So, just a follow-on question to this, Yogesh. Though you know that there is a learned decision that you make that okay, I'm having confidence, I'm going to go this route, and I'm going to call it Onsurity. Is there a eureka moment that really happens when an idea clicks, and then further on, then it becomes fully confirmed? Is there a moment like a eureka moment for you?
To be very honest, there was no particularly eureka moment.
Okay.
It was extremely calculated bet. Was knowing the market from almost like 12 years. Was knowing that globally if you talk about countries like US or any other developed country, 9 out of 10 people has health insurance. In our country, not more than 2 out of 10 people has health insurance. So, and the way how our country is adopting everything from technology to real GDP development and real infrastructure getting developed, this particular product should have also come across. So it was like more calculated thing. And today also, if we do build anything on health, it will float because overall massive market that India has it out as an opportunity. So to be very honest, there is no eureka kind of.
Right. So, Kulin, so how? I don't tell me that you, because you didn't go to US, you joined Onsurity. I am sure that you have your valid points not only for Onsurity but to kind of understand what Yogesh is saying, and this looks, yes, he's making sense. So what was it like for you?
Yeah. So the decision making framework was as follows, right? That there is someone whom I have built products with, right? There is someone who comes with a clear, complementing skill set, right? Someone who understands the space, right? And someone with whom I can solutionize with, right? Someone who's not having a baggage of, 20, 30 years of insurance, whose first reaction would be, ye nahi kar sakte, right? That's not someone whom I can ever build any product with, right? And obviously, SME and health, right, was a completely unsolved problem, right? For me, what drives me is how can I solutionize, right? Is there a creative way of solving a problem, right? And I think that was something that clearly came out of this whole focus of Onsurity, saying that we will go behind a market that no one has really catered to, right? We create a technology-based platform because in all my previous roles, right, I've always been someone who's handled tech-based products, right? Be it a digital wallet where done multiple integrations with almost about 1 lakh merchants in India, or be it InsurTech where you've insured close to about 40 million users, right? If there's something that has not been done earlier, if it is a 0 to 1, because I love doing things that are 0 to 1, right? And there is a technology at play, right? And then obviously you're doing it with someone who's a known devil, right? And not an unknown angel.
Yeah. Always better.
Right? Always better.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a working relationship that you already built with someone. You can't predict everything, right? But at least the starting point made sense, right? And after my first startup, right, I realized one thing, that there is no certainty for anything, right? So why not give this a shot, right? Don't overthink. Go with what your heart tells you, what your gut tells you, and you obviously have some numbers backing your decision making. And yeah, that was that.
And why Yogesh? What did you see in him?
Of course, because you already have a working relationship with someone. You already understand that. See, when you have worked with someone who thinks similar to you, right? Who has a similar way to solve problems, right? And someone who comes with an expertise in a subject matter, right? Always helps to kind of make sure that you're creating the right solutions, right? Solutions which will will not require an iterative process from the fact that we didn't know only about this, right? You now started creating solutions saying that, hey, you know what? Yes, we know this. Now we need to work around this, right? And Yogesh is someone, I think, that someone who's always open, right, to discussing new ideas. Someone who does not come across someone saying that I have seen more insurance than anyone else, so you have to take my word for it, right? Always open to kind of saying that, what, yes, I could also be missing a point, right? And I think having these kind of qualities, right, really helps you to build the business the right way, because everything is not known in business. And I think that comfort is something that I always drew from the earlier working relationship with Yogesh. And I think just as a person, I think Yogesh is someone who's not motivated or had vested interest in just doing Onsurity. He wanted to also solve the problem, right? It was not saying, oh, I will show the world that I can do this, right? Or I want to show this person I can do this. It was saying that, hey, you know what, problem statement is there, let's give it a shot. At the most, we'll fail. So yeah.
So, just when you started, so was it like long hours, meeting at cafes or night outs? How was it? It's a typical entrepreneurial journey?
Started in COVID. So night outs, yes. Night outs, yes. Cafes, no.
Only Zoom calls, phone calls?
We were doing Teams. Okay, so and Yogesh is very particular that we wanted to be on Microsoft stack. So, but that's for another day's discussion. So yeah, I think in COVID, I think for most of us, right, we didn't know what to do, right? So we were always working because that was the only thing that kept us occupied, right? So they were long hours. We had to build the team because the team building was going to happen completely remote. We had to align the team and the vision with the team, which meant over communication, which meant you communicate more, right? I think I can recall that almost every 1.5, 2 hours, Yogesh and I would be calling up each other saying, "Kya ho raha hai? Kya chal raha hai?" Right? I think most of the meetings are anyways done together, and then we're continuously discussing that, what we need to do next, what we need to do next, what we need to do next. So yeah, I think we would get up, and I think the first thing you would see is your desk, and start with the desk, and then there was nothing much to do after after the evening. So you're saying, okay, we'll continue working. Anyways, we had so many things to do.
Right. So I think for our tech team, the Microsoft stack that you said, I think it's definitely a discussion for another day. Yes. And we would really want to know what are your points on it. Moving on, I'm a single founder at PWIP. Initially, when I started rice export business, the first person I could think of is my younger brother. And my younger brother was already working, and I used to call him, "Aisa karen kya? I mean, let's do this, let's do that." And then I kept on working. I took a full time into the business, and he was still working at that time, and he used to fund me also a little bit. I've never been able to find a co-founder. I mean, I used to try and put this on my brother, and I didn't want to force upon him on this decision. But gradually I felt he wants more security, he likes job more, probably he'll do a job or some other investment in real estate or things like that. So based on your experience right now also, Yogesh, that Nexus told you that better find a co-founder and things like that. Today at the hindsight, do you think I or any entrepreneur who is a single founder is at a very big disadvantage?
Don't get disappointed. Yes, you are at a very great disadvantageous position.
Right.
See, there are like so many ups and downs that keeps on happening. You cannot share everything to everyone, even to your spouses, because they will not be able to connect with what is the real thing that you are going through. Because it's not very easy journey. To be very honest, if people think that becoming an entrepreneur and running a startup is all about that you want to become your boss, no, it's not like that. Every morning when you are going to wake up, there are kind of 3 thoughts that comes to your mind. You are responsible to your team members. In our case, 300 team members that are there, so we are responsible for them. We are responsible for our customers because we have given them some kind of a promise and we need to deliver as a team some kind of a promise. And also we have promised or something to our investors as well. So managing all these 3 stakeholders is extremely, I would say, couple of times it becoming burning out. But then if you have someone to whom you can speak around, it really gives you a lot of calmness in your mind. And not only that, it also helps you to take a different view of your problem. So might be sometimes if something you are looking as a problem, but your other co-founder is looking that problem as an opportunity or a solution to something else. So that is where it's always one is always better than 2. So this is what I learned throughout last 3 years, that if you're going to run a company, get a co-founder, get someone whom you can really and who can really complement you. It's not easy. There are like different traits. It's as equivalent as getting a spouse. And you, if I will tell you that this is going to be a marriage, you cannot just walk out of this like पसंद नहीं आया तो 6 महीने में divorce. It's not going to happen like that. So you need to do lot of thorough diligence कि mindset बैठेगा क्या, culturally are you guys are aligned to. Otherwise, if one is going into that direction and the other one is going into that, at some level you need to also, at certain areas you need to go down, you need to come up. So it's effectively, if I would say, like a marriage. You need to understand how you guys are looking, how anyone is looking on your co-founder, and it's going to be a very long term journey. For us, it was very, I would say for me, it was very easy because I was working with the person for almost like 3 years. So I was knowing what are the positives, negatives. I have seen it out. So that's why it helped it.
You know how Kulin behaves when he's too stressed or too happy. So you know all the patterns. Yeah, very true. And but also, like for example, because Kulin is also your co-founder, and when you share, when in difficult times, when you share the pain, then he's able to absorb it and also able to give you solutions, versus a single founder, for example, having a therapist, where the therapist is not involved in your business, we can only console you or give you some life-changing lessons. Right? It's two different things, right? I mean,
so we will talk about the therapist session some other day. So see, commenting on anyone's problem without stepping into the shoe of that particular person becomes extremely easy. But when you are going through, because one particular problem, when it comes, it's just not comes from one single angle. It actually has multiple spiraling effect. You need to realize what could be the impact of any decision into a more critical manner. And that's why it really helped. Might be if I have got some idea, Kulin just become a devil advocate and try to poke holes into that idea so that when it comes out, after doing a lot of other brainstorming, understanding from all the sides, then that particular idea will come out as a foolproof execution plan. So this is where it becomes important. Otherwise, going and sharing your problem with a therapist, I at least understand it's not going to solve your issue. Business issues. I'm not talking about the personal issues, but yeah, business issues.
right. But you know what? I used to always also think, like for example, I mean, I used to get to hear this, right? Do you have a co-founder? And a lot of so-called consultants, mentors, investors will tell you that you should have a co-founder and all. Then I used to think, like for example, Vijay Shekhar Sharma of Paytm. It looks outside that he's a single founder, but I knew that his younger brother used to be with him in the company. Let's say somebody like Mukesh Ambani had Anil Ambani, I mean, right? And he had somebody who can reach out to. But I thought, so what if I don't have a co-founder? I'll build a leadership team with whom I know, yes, as you said, you cannot share everything and anything, but then at least I can probably build a great leadership team who can stand by me, by me, and we can work on this together. So like Vaibhavi, Meghna, Yogesh, Abhishek, Karthik. Karthik is somebody, he's not here right now. I know him from 2015, and then Sudhanshu joined as a CTO, then Chaitra joined as a people manager. So I don't know. I mean, I'm still, because I don't have a choice right now. I think I'm defending, but let me try and see how this goes. So don't you think having a leadership team?
So definitely a strong leadership team is extremely important on the success of the organization. Right. I was more talking about from the personal aspect, because there are a lot of decisions that goes around, be it like talking to investors, be it talking to the customer. Of course, the strong leadership is extremely important, because when an organization gets established, it's like it requires a village to look after that particular organization, and you really require strong team members, strong leadership to run it around, because you cannot be a master of everything. You have a couple of areas which might be at where you can excel it around, but running a business, you need to excel in every aspect of your business. Then only the business gets stitched together as a product. So for everything, you need a subject matter expert and someone who had worked on those aspects in the past or has a high potential to solve those particular problems. So leadership is extremely important. It's not that if you have a co-founder, you cannot have a leadership, or you should not have a leadership team. Definitely for running a business, because it's a massive, big aspiration that you are going and sitting for. It's not just a small going to be a small business where if you reach to a turnover of, let's say, 5 crore or 10 crore, you achieve nirvana. Where over here we are talking about just create a different market, a very sizable market opportunity. So you really require people who come from a different orientation of businesses, carrying different experience, and can actually help you out in that. And to be very honest, how I look at it is that there is always a person that exists in the world who is far better than you in that particular aspect. You just need to make sure that that particular person gets onboarded. You can align their interest with the success of with the interest which makes your organization successful, and that's what you need to do.
So when it comes to a co-founder, right, I think the way a lot of single founders should think is that a leadership team is also like a co-founder team, right? It's about how much you empower someone, right? Can you create that attitude of entrepreneurship in them, right? Then would you require a co-founder? Possibly not, right? Because your entire organization is started becoming like an entrepreneur within an organization, right? So are you at a complete disadvantage? Think about it as an opportunity for you to create 60, 70, 100 entrepreneurs within your organization, right? Everyone who's contributing to the vision, right? Who's contributing to you, helping you to kind of elevate yourself, because they come with complementing skill sets, right? And hence, even your leadership team, right, is nothing short of a co-founder, right? Sometimes the word founder, co-founder are just titles, right? But we all are a function of the people that we work with, right? So the best founders and co-founders together can achieve nothing if the teams are not entrepreneurial by themselves, right? And if the teams are completely entrepreneur, even mediocre co-founders and founders, right, will see amazing success, because together they are able to kind of achieve that vision. So don't be very disappointed.
Right.
And by the way, you have a good team.
Thanks. So coming back to the team which who work in startups, right? What have been your management styles to make them feel like an entrepreneur? For some, motivation helps. For some, the money helps. For some, freedom helps. That you don't micromanage them, and then you give them the P&L to handle, or you give them the luxury of failing and making mistakes and then picking it up. So what do you, according to you, thinks works best to make that entrepreneurship feeling come in the team?
I think different people have different motivations, right? I think getting to know people's aspirations and helping them understand that how they can achieve those aspirations, right, is the bare basic framework that one should have definitely apply to, right? Like you rightly said, someone wants to grow in the career, right? And hence for that person, even if you give them the money, right, they'll say this is not, no one is going to say no to money, but that will not keep them back, right? They'll want to kind of look out something. Someone who needs money today, right, you can give them the best role, right, but that will not help them to possibly sustain the next day, right, or sustain what they need to do, and then they will make a move, right? So I think the most important thing, and I think the best way I think I've seen this is one of the recruitment firms showed that if you put Sachin Tendulkar, in a finance role or something to that extent, he'll fail. But you put him on the pitch, right? And you have God out there, right? So I think the understanding people's aspirations, understanding what is going to really drive them, I think is the basic framework that drives not only the leaders of the company, but every sub-atomic unit, that is every team member, right, in the company. So I think that is one of the basic tenets, for anyone who's leading an organization, right, to keep in mind.
So, how I really look at it is that know your team extremely well. Try to, and specifically if you are a small team, it's easier to know them very well. Or if you are even having a large team, how about your leadership team and L minus one? How can you know them extremely well? That first of all, what really motivates them, both personally and professionally, because even though people may say that personal life does not matter, it's personal life, and where an individual is there in their personal life actually defines what are their goals that they want to achieve in their professional life. So understanding it out on what phase they are in, might be someone would be in a phase where they really want to grow very fast, or someone who wants to grow at a reasonable speed, but at the same time had different commitments. So everywhere you can actually fit the right person for that kind of a role. So because, and this is where if you're knowing your team members, your leaders, you know really well that where they can be of great asset to the organization, great value contributor to the organization, and effectively out of, let's say, 25 people, because as the organization grow, you need at least 10 to 12 CEOs of those particular functions. Correct. So this is where it is important how you can actually identify your next line or next to next line, because
and then they doing it that the same with their team.
Yes,
exactly.
I think that is.
It has to be a top-down culture, right? And I think one of the things that one needs to also make sure is that it's not only the experience that matters, right? It is also the willingness to go that extra mile, right? While we do so much of work in healthcare and wellness, right? And obviously, insurance is a part of the entire offering. I think we can confidently tell you that 80% of the organization today, right, which front faces the our customers, they don't come with that background. But we are still at about 5,000 organizations that we are working with today. We still have a million users, right? So it is only about no, it's not about the hard skills. It's about the soft skills, right? Able to get those soft skills playing out. Right, giving them that outlets in that, what, if you like, for example, I could be someone who just likes talking, right? Just go and talk to customers, right? Because you like talking, right? Why do you need to say that, oh, I don't have a role for someone who just wants to talk, right? Because there is no role that fits this JD, right? So can you give them, that outlet to, push their creativity out, right? And that's how people will become solutionists and not just, employees.
Right. I'm going to take a quick break on this, and I want to just open it to team that is here, both PWIP and Onsurity. If anybody wants to ask a very quick question to Kulin or Yogesh or both.
Or Dhanraj.
Any quick question that anybody wants to ask? No? I think very clear. I think you both have been very clear, and I think much easy and understood until the story has gone so far. So I'll actually quickly change pace of this discussion. Do you both like cricket, or you play cricket, or you like to watch cricket?
None of the above.
And then, so tell us how Anil Kumble happened. So, how did it start and what's going on?
Go ahead.
So the one of the gentlemen sitting in this room is really fond of cricket. Summer. So and Summer leads our entire brand marketing initiative and also what would be the right communication strategy for us. And that's a part of the overall brand charter, what Summer has it out. So Kulin was supposed to go along with Summer to meet Anil, and Kulin was not there in Bangalore, so I have to go along with Summer to meet him. I was having an impression that he's a sports star, but कहाँ से उसको he will be able to understand the SME problem, the tech thing, etc. That was the perception which I have gone to meet Anil again. I don't know how Anil will react after seeing this, but that's the fact. When we entered his office, both me and Samar, there were like couple of people, team members of Anil, who was sitting in his office just trying to discuss a lot of stuffs. And when we started discussing about Onsurity, what we are trying to solve for, he quickly grabs the platform and correlated the problems that he himself is facing in his entrepreneurial journey, as well as other sports stars who are associated with cricket or sports or in fact other activities what they are doing. He mentioned very categorically that there are every month instances that actually happen that someone in our business or business employee of our known businesses gets ill or have some medical emergency, they ask for medical loans. We can help them to a certain extent, but still we cannot help everyone. And that's the power of your product, your platform, that you are actually being able to digitalize health and can even go to the most remotest corner of India. Because I think for our product, it's not like a normal insurance. It's complete healthcare, completely digital. There is no paper stuff, everything, and it's comprehensively covers every different aspect of health. So that really, uh, if I would say, really helped him to connect with Onsurity. And for us, it was really kind of that can be a eureka moment ki how a sports star can understand a problem which is somewhere could not have related to him. So this is how the interest got aligned. Then he asked, "How can I help?" And we
Then
got Anil as one of our strategic investor on the cap table. So this is
and I think for us, we've always been very particular about whom we kind of associate, especially on the cap table, right? Be it someone like Anil or our investors, right? They need to stand for something. They cannot be only financial investors for us, right? They need to understand our vision. They need to make sure that what we are doing, there's a reason because of the impact that we can create because of it. And I think, when we were also kind of thinking whom we should bring on board, right? When we were kind of thinking, okay, Anil Kumble is one of them, right? I think for us, it was very clear that all of us have grown up, right? At least not all of us, but some of us have grown up to him, right? And, he stands for reliability. He stands for someone who can be trusted, right? Someone who, stands for consistency. Someone who has taken failure also in the right fashion, but has come back so strong, right? And I think that's something that really resonated with us, and that's what Onsurity should stand for also, right? And I think when we realized that someone like Anil who understood Onsurity, right? Then it was just a no-brainer, saying that listen, he already stands for this, right? And if he kind of talks about Onsurity, right, it's the best outcome ever for Onsurity. So I think
Right. So the day you guys met him or you onboarded him, Was there a moment whether in the office or in your personal circle is like, देखो हम किसको मिलके आए हैं? Did you brag about it a lot or?
I have taken a photograph and sent it to my friends and said, भाई अनिल कुंबले के साथ photograph खिंचाया.
So I have got that particular ball signed with him. And so basically, of course, in the childhood days, played a lot of cricket, but then suddenly had to drop it out because of some reason. At that time, we used to have balls where there were signatures of cricketers, but those were like mass signatures.
Printed ones.
Printed ones. So I was having the same ball of my childhood days till day. I put the same ball in with it and had really taken the snap. And
Which was Anil Kumble itself?
yeah.
Okay, wow.
So that particular ball was having the signature of Anil Kumble as a printed one.
Wow.
And this one is with the real signature. So taken the snap, put it on my school WhatsApp group and my college WhatsApp group. So that particular stuff had done it.
Okay. Or something like that, if that key you have gone to meet Anil Kumble and you're getting phone calls, normally you don't pick their call, but just then you just pick a call, Arey, I'm Anil Kumble's house, can you please call me later, something like that?
We didn't go that far. I didn't think we didn't go that
Utna bada
far.
meeting nahi tha. It's more like a 30-40 minutes meeting, the first meeting.
Yeah. I think when we met him, it was not that, but I think some of our team members could not make it just to kind of meet him when we were kind of meeting him. At least that time we kind of gave a call to those team members, told them to join us over WhatsApp and introduce Anil to him. So yeah, I think that we did. But yeah, we've not taken it that far that we said, हाँ नहीं Anil के साथ.
And is there any perks of having a celebrity on your on board? Is like, are you you get to hang around or you get invited to parties or some functions, events? Is there some other perks also which come along?
I think these are all great to hear in other stories, but no, that doesn't happen. But I think whatever time we spent with Anil, right? And he being an entrepreneur himself, he's got two startups of his own, right? I think what we've been able to do is that we've been able to discuss our entrepreneurial journey with him, right? He's a big believer of creating impact. He's associated with so many, forests and causes around the forests, right? That he's been able to kind of open up and say that what, you guys should not just think about businesses, right? What about gig workers, right, who work in stadiums, right? What about people who are associated as contractual, have contractual employment, right? How can you build Onsurity for them? So I think, and given our own profiles, right, I think we rather have this kind of a conversation with him than hang out and get invited to parties. I think this is party itself for us.
Right. So coming back to Onsurity, right? So amazing concept. So people who are in the employment sector, either they sometimes you don't have a choice because you want to take tax benefits. Even if you didn't have a plan, you then get a plan for yourself, and somehow your plan, that thing gets into your mind, right? You have to have a health plan. And say somebody like for example, we work with a lot of rice millers, and as you said, like somebody wants to come and ask for a medical loan to their employer, and at that point in time, if this kind of a product like Onsurity was there with them, I mean, this kind of a situation wouldn't have arisen. So what about the Bharat that they talk about, right? Like rice millers that we have. I think rice exporters have a small team, but yes, we can pitch to them as well. So how do you see Onsurity being adopted by the Bharat, where rice millers or say kirana shops? Is there a particular team size that they have to have, or if you can share some insights on this?
So from day one, where we are operating it across, the minimum team size is just 3 employees. That was the most important disruption that we wanted to bring. Today also we work with lot of very small SMEs. Someone might be running a small restaurant. It's not, our platform currently also is not only made for startups or large companies or only white collared employees. We have so almost
50%.
47% precisely our customer base are blue collar employees. So there is a huge blue collar employees that we actually cover it across to our platform. And also where we look at it is that there are like very very small manufacturing setup that is there, small cloth weavers to kirana shops to restaurants. All of these SMEs are there on our platform, but in India there are like 63 million SMEs, and we are just till now have been able to cover 5,000 businesses. So there's still a very long path that we need to go.
How many SMEs you said?
5,000. 63 million.
63 million.
63 million businesses are there. So, which
So
is
lot of work to do.
lot of work to do.
And I see that the TAM is very big.
The TAM is extremely big. So fortunately, I think for the next 5 to 6 years, even if we just cater to India,
Okay.
there is a huge potential.
So I think now I'm getting an idea as we speak. So we spoke about this, how we target rice mills and all. I think we should ask millers, do your team members ask you for a medical loan? And
Every organization,
it will definitely be
it will definitely be there.
So even in the medical loans, when we have run the surveys, not only on the blue collar setup, but even on the white collar setup also, we have seen people asking for medical loans because at the end of the day, see, typically the maths is that every month you need to at least save 2,500 to 3,000 rupees just for your medical emergency. That's the minimum, and that only will cover you, spouse, and 2 kids. But in India, people does not had created that kitty for the thing, and unlike other countries where government sponsors the health care or it's mandatory for employers to provide a minimum health benefits. In India, we were not there. So automatically the medical loan becomes one of the option. But it's too difficult for an employer also to give that medical loan because even in the SME setup, which is more informal, might be you have given a loan to the employee, then biggest problem that when we have formed Onsurity, when we have spoken to a lot of entrepreneurs or small businesses, they said that if we give the medical loan, what we have done that in the past, then that medical loans, one employee had taken a medical loan, then the other one will come and ask for a wedding loan, and the third person will come and ask for a mobile loan. So that becomes extremely difficult for us to manage the expectation. Of course, from our ethics ground, if someone is having any medical emergency, we definitely want to support. But and I'm talking about like a small businesses, more like a kirana shop or take a ready-made retailers. So this is where a risk management product or a healthcare product really can help these organizations to make it more formalized. The kind of providing or building a cushion for a dry day.
Today also in India, 28 to 30% of the personal loans that are taken are for the reasons of medical emergencies. And these loans are not necessarily only meant for the person who's seeking the loan. These medical emergencies could come out for family, right? And these could be for various reasons. And one of the biggest problems that we've seen is that when someone goes ahead and takes a medical loan, right, and they don't draw very large salaries, right, which is a truth for Bharat today, right? They get into this vicious cycle of being in debt, right? That means every time they are earning money, right, and they are new to credit, and hence their interest rates are high, right? They keep trying to keep paying for that particular loan, hence they are not saving, right? And hence every time they have an emergency, they'll need another loan, right? And this is one of the ways, especially on the medical side, right, to provide a comprehensive healthcare plan, right, which includes right from preventive, right, to even hospitalization management or expenses management, right, from insurance. It kind of helps to break that cycle today, right? And which means that today then we are as a country, right, growing our capacity, right, not just in paying off our debts, but actually putting that money to other use also.
So, and a lot of guys, if there is no healthcare, because of this medical loan, again they move back to the BPL line, below the poverty line. So that is why government is also pushing. India is trying to also create their health stack, which is extremely unique and which can make or actually abolish a lot of inefficiencies in the overall delivery of the healthcare. So I think over a couple of years, what we are anticipating that it's going to be a UPI movement in the health, when at your consent, your health data can be shared uh, with your doctors to the
Hospitals, clinics.
hospitals, clinics, which can actually make which can actually improvise the quality of the care, and at the same time the delivery of the care can also become more economical.
I used to always feel this, like, assume that a lot of times people, if not hospitalized, they change doctors and they change clinics. If there was a unique number where you hit, and you know for the last 10 years what all this guy has gone through and who all has he met as a doctor, what all treatment he took, I think you have a better large data to make decisions on, right?
Exactly,
The
that's what the
medical
government.
stack or health stack, NDHM is
NDHM,
trying
yeah.
to build it across, because if you have gone to a medical practitioner, they are still figuring it out ki from childhood to till today, what are the different health issues that you have faced, and that's where the AI and the health models can actually being able to predict very quickly what would be the right health solution that they can provide. So this is what we are anticipating, that in our sector, tech and AI will really play a vital role.
So coming back to the startups, right? So I have this question. Fine, what it means for people who work in startups? Okay, so why should they put their effort? Why should they work day in and day out? I will give a little bit of context to this. Sometimes I see that few team members, they don't care whether it is morning, night, Saturday, Sunday, they are just at work, meaning even if they hope you get it's bad, I mean it might lead to burnout and things like that, but I've not told them to work like that. So sometimes people take it so much to their heart, and for somebody, a company like us, even the ESOPs and things like that is not even actually worked on, right? It is still a work in progress. So I wonder why do these team members invest so much of their time and life into this, especially when they are in the age group of 20 to 30, right, where they can go out on parties, etc., etc. And sometimes if somebody is not pushing themselves enough, I try and tell them, do you think we are in the rice business? I don't think we are in the rice business. We are in a business to change our lives and the people's lives whom we work on, right? If you want a job, you can always go to another company, or if we want to hire, we can always hire. So you have opportunities, we have opportunities, but can we change our lives? Can we achieve something that we have never achieved and our parents probably wouldn't have ever? Like I know that my parents, my mom and dad, I don't know, they are not able to advise because they have not seen opportunities like this. They don't understand what a startup is. They don't understand what is a risk. My mom used to always tell, because of seeing my father, that yeah, you don't do a job, Saturday, Sunday is off, you can take holidays, you can, etc. Then I used to tell her, yeah, but if I go and do a job, isn't that job the company somebody else's company, right? Then what about why not I become somebody like that? So help me understand from your perspective, what is in it for people working in startups versus they going and working a very matured company?
So it's all about the mission that and the cause that the startup is solving for. So we have very senior team members coming from a very uh, senior leadership of a very well-established banks, well-established insurers, and who are coming and joining us. To be very honest, ESOPs, wealth, cash could be one of the component of the decision making process. But we always feel that it's could be like not more than 20% of the overall decision making framework. It's all about three things. One is about the problem statement, the impact, and the culture. So, and when we talk about culture, it's all about freedom, or because might be in a corporate or in a, let's say in a corporate, they will always be restricted in their decision making framework because of their bosses or the regulations, legal, etc., where they cannot work completely independently or lead the decision making framework. So that really get, people get an opportunity in a startup where they can actually, even if you're not the founder or the CEO, but you can get an opportunity to run your own team completely, run experiment ideas. There is also a room for failure. Unlike a corporate, you don't have a room for failure because every quarter your returns are your financials are published in the market, and you need to keep on growing at a profitable rate. So you cannot have like a 1 quarter of loss if you're working in a corporate. But that is where in a startup where you get excited about a mission, you get excited about the impact that the mission can create, and thirdly, effectively the freedom to uh, make decisions or to see the end outcome of those decisions as well. Unlike otherwise in a corporate, you have participated in one particular project. That project had seen the day in light, let's say after 2 years, and by that time you are not there. So
So I think in any organization, right, be it a large or a small, right, it all depends on the culture that you've created out there, right. I think you'll see the same enthusiasm of people in a Meta also, in a Google also, right, and possibly people obviously having the same thing even for in an SME also, right. I think it's all about saying that what is the kind of culture you're creating, what is the kind of environment you're creating for people, right? I think all of us have seen both sides of the spectrum, right? Where if the culture is not there, right, you can do everything and people will not kind of put those efforts, right? So many times you've seen that even in large organizations, there are certain teams who are so motivated that they'll always be there, right? And there are certain teams who will not be there, right? That is because the culture has made those particular teams, right, saying that listen, we need to make this happen, right. I think celebrating success, embracing failures, aligning yourself with the larger vision, right, knowing that someone has your back even if you're going to fail. I think some of these things are something that drives people, right, to say that what, this is where I want to put it all in, right. This is where I'm going to go, all in with my poker chips, right. Whatever I have, be it in terms of skill sets, be in terms of time, right. And I think that is an organization which has really been able to kind of drive the most out of people, right, because they understand their aspirations. They've given that environment where people can express themselves, right, express themselves in a professional setup, right, where people have this whole ability to trust each other, right, where they know that what, I need to focus on work and not what's going to who's talking what about me. I think that kind of an environment will always breed the future leaders. It will always breed the future CEOs, right, and it will breed people who will become possibly future entrepreneurs also, right. And hence I think having that culture of entrepreneurship within your organization is what's going to drive the behavior that you're talking about.
So on the days that the founders are not in the office, for example, for a week or so is that energy is normally low, or is the leadership team able to?
300 founders in the company.
Okay.
So even if one or two people are missing, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay. if there is any other business, I know because now since you had worked in the field of healthcare and all, naturally you started something called Onsurity. If otherwise, given a chance today, if you had to start another business which is like very close to your heart, what would that be for both of you? Is there anything that
I would have possibly not, I wouldn't call it a business, but I would have been an archaeologist. Yeah. I would have just possibly gone digging everywhere to see what the history looked like. So possibly that would, how old things were and what things were when they were old, right? So yeah, I think that would be definitely the next possible profession for me. But yeah, I come from a business community, and I said archaeology can wait. Let's make some, business first.
For me, I think something in sports is is something that I would definitely explore. Again, related to health, but sports is something is I missed it out in my during my childhood, those particular stuff. So just wanted to capture it out.
so? Do founders like you who have a say a 300-member team, a large business to run, do find time for your personal space as well, like a hobby or going for a movie? How is it like? You, if it's not Onsurity, what are you normally doing?
Onshore. I think after a point of time, it depends on the at what time of the life cycle you are at, right? In the beginning days, of course, that's all that you need to be doing, only because you need to put the foundation in place, right? But after a point, if you are still doing that, you've not really empowered people, and sometimes you need to take a step back so that others can take a step forward, right? So, and at some point of time you need to let others grow, which means that you need to give them that space to grow. If you're always going to be in that space, always doing those things, right, then people are just executing and not really thinking. So it is difficult, but one has to kind of take a step back and say, you know what, let people do this, let them create their experiences, right? And at that point of time, you'll really come to know the people who are invested in the in the cause and in the vision, and those who are here for a career and just a job, which is also okay, right? But I think you need to give that space to people, and hence at some point of time you need to take a back seat so that others can do, and you can then start spending time on what more you can do for the organization.
So a lot of people, they say that ideas don't come out clearly from day one. It gets more clearer as you keep working on it. So for you, was it clear from day one, though you know what to do? The whole path was kind of, you had visibility, 80-90% visibility, or you pivoted or you changed. There's a lot of things, a lot of circles also happened.
A lot of changes, a lot of iterations that had happened. What you again, the problem statement was kind of known, ki, but how to execute those particular solutions, how to execute those particular plans and idea, that was important. And when you actually goes into or embark the execution journey, 20% of your thoughts will get implemented, 80% will get changed, because you need to adapt what the market realities are, what really your customers really want. And even after customers taking one set of the product, after experiencing that particular set of product, what are the next thing that they really require? And it's a changing, always changing environment, so you need to adapt very quickly. So that is where might be the initial idea could be one starting step, but then there are important milestone, and you need to adapt, change yourself, or sometime if it requires a complete pivoting about the thing, you need to do, because at the end it's
I think if you're not, if you're still stuck with the same approach, you're not scaling, you're stagnating, because everything around you is continuously changing, expectations are changing. Your own customers are in a different, part of their life cycle. So are you meeting their aspirations or not, right? Today you're dealing with someone who's 25 years old, but after 5 years, that person will be 30, will have a very different need and want, right? And if you're still solving for the same thing, then are you really growing with your customers or not, right? With their aspirations, with their, lifestyle changes, right? And hence, I think you can always start with a problem statement, but the answers and the approach and the solutions will keep evolving, right? So I think there comes the whole thing that focus on the problem statement, but don't get stuck with the way you're answering that problem statement. Keep continuously evolving, right? And then obviously a larger problem statement will keep giving you the roadmap to solve for other associated problem statements.
I normally ask this, and I have no shame in asking this, but I'll ask you both as well. Did you ever at work, cry? Might be you faced a roadblock, you don't know how to go about things. Is it? Did you face this? And because you clearly mentioned that having a co-founder helps, that you never had to cry.
We've had our set of tears. Okay. I don't think there's any shame in saying that we've not cried or we didn't feel those kind of strong emotions, right? We obviously had those moments, but I think it's all about and you can't, and at least I think as individuals we don't feel any shame in kind of being vulnerable, or we don't have any shame of saying that, hey, you know what, we are going to be always yes, you need to put up a strong face for the team, right, to the outside world, but I think it's okay to have those moments. So I think we've had our own set of moments, we've had our own set of challenges, but it was always that, okay, this is there, we need to figure out a way out, because at the end of the day there's a team that is also that you're responsible towards. And I think Yogesh had captured this earlier, that there are a set of customers that you've promised a certain brand promise, and there's a certain promise that you make to internal stakeholders. It doesn't matter what happens, you need to get out of that mode and start solving for it.
I was once asking, I asked this question to Mayank of Resha Mandi, and he said we should not assume or think that founders are gods, right? That they are not human. They also go through a lot of shit, and it's okay to, as you said, right? It's okay to be vulnerable, even if it has to be, might be your team members or you. They understand you, right? And that's how they actually stand with you to build your company.
We still have the same two eyes and the 2 years and
And
possibly 32 teeth.
See, again, I want to repeat the same thing. There's always a better version of yours who exists, and you need to bring them on board, because with period of time, the things start becoming so complex, complicated. It's beyond the knowledge and technicality of an individual. Because as a founder, only one thing that we have done it across is that taken one first step into the journey. Ki, this is what we need to build. But then the entire path to the reaching to the destination or to the journey, it's being built by the teams, and that is where, and you just need to walk along with the team and give them the enough space that they can also reach to their individual goals in this particular path. So what Mayank had said, what we will say that we are also just only thing, the difference that actually is we just taken the first step. That's it. It's not that we are technically more competent than the others or having skill sets which are more than the others. It's not that. Every functional person who is responsible for their job will definitely be better version of the founder or the thing. So, for example, today there are almost 50 doctors who are working uh, with Onsurity, who are helping the customers. both of us does not know ABCD of medical science. So are we better than them? No, we are not better than them. They are far better than us on the subject. It's just that we need to make sure that their interests are aligned with the interest of the organization. So this is what
Yeah.
it is.
So, in the investor space, right now that earlier it was growth at all cost, and now a lot of focus has come to profitability, right? So, what is your view on this? Do you see that profitability has to be there, very important, or is it sector specific?
I think we always knew from day one that we had to be a profitable company. We had, and more than profitably, we had to basically make sure that we were doing something that was sustainable, right? And hence, what it means is that at the end of the day, unit economics positive, you always had to be. And I think there was no doubt in our mind that, you know, that growth cannot come at the cost of unit economics, right? And that's the right way to build business. And I think that also comes from our own personal backgrounds, that when you've been, in businesses, right? What matters at the end of the day is that how far can you go, right? And that only comes with profitability. And I think we've seen enough cycles, the 2008 cycle where there was a global recession, right? Or the small blips that came in 2016, right? Every time, it's only one thing that has taught is that growth has to be sustainable, which means that when you are doing any kind of a business, right, you have to think first principles. So yeah, and I think that kind of solves for everything else, right? And I think that's what at least we feel, that in all our conversations with the investment fraternity has kind of differentiated us.
So that actually brings the overall discipline in the market, because at the end of the day, why people burn money? It's because someone else who had become mad and does not is just becoming on a variable basis is making loss. See, at a business, you can still incur some level of fixed cost and then depend on your volumes to recover those particular fixed costs. But on a variable basis, if you are negative, which is what people say unit economics, are you positive or negative? If you are at a unit economics positive, then that's the business that you need to aspire. If you are a unit economics negative company, or you're on a variable cost basis, you are negative, then definitely there is something wrong in the product, something wrong in the market. Your customers are not willing to pay for the service or the product that you are going to provide it out. And again, the history had taught us, no matter, might be you are trying to change the customer behavior by providing discounts or by giving offers. On a second day, as soon as a new platform comes in, they just switch it off. Switch. So that means the discounts, the offers also needs to be sustainable enough, because this is how we have seen it out. Might be a new cab aggregator coming across now, does not have to spend the money what the old cab aggregators had to spend. So this is where on a variable, or what people say as a unit economics positive or a unit economics negative, unit economics positive is extremely important on the business. Otherwise, there's no point of building it across.
Right. So, I'll give you a situation where if you had to chase new markets, new avenues of growth and business, and at the same time follow a set process, and you had to hire, say, 100 people, 100 team members, how would you decide how many do you need experience and how many you want to go with freshers? Like I've seen that when I see experienced team members, right, they've always gone through the processes. Everything that you bring new, they want to set a process first, right? Versus if you put a young, fresh guy to get some business, he will go all out to the market. He has a fire, he has a passion, and he'll go get that business. So how do you decide the mix of experienced team versus say somebody like freshers? You would say 80-20, or how do you?
So there is a rule of thumb. Typically, it's a ratio of 30 is to 70. 30 you need experienced people, and 70 is something that you can live with the freshers or someone who are having 1 or 2 years of experience. Those 30 responsibility to teach processes, to define processes, because if you are running at a scale without processes, things cannot run. It will break down. Might be people will see some short term successes, but in the long term, it will definitely start creating a problem. So, for example, might be you have done a product market fit with a tech or an application which had just been built up in haste. Now, if you don't correct all the bugs or all the issues surrounding the application, you will not be able to scale it up. Might be you would have reached your first 100,000 users, but now to reach to a 10 million user, you need to be pixel perfect. You need to have the right sets of processes, right sets of legal guidelines to follow. Otherwise, for example, your app might be on some day would be delisted by any of the store, then it will create a lot of business interruption. So process orientation is extremely important, but at the same time, the reason to experiment it out to see whether it is really meeting the goals of your customers or not, the product, that is also important. So speed and efficiency and processes needs to go hand in hand. Might be you can run a mile with lot of speed, but then you need to start slow down. And if you are running a marathon and can need to work at your reasonable speed, otherwise you will get broken down. So this is how we look.
Yeah. You can't have only doers and you cannot have only visionaries. It has to be a mix of both. If you have only visionaries, no one's executing. If everyone's only executing, no one's really thinking on what to do next. So, yeah, I think depending on your sector and depending on the business needs, right, it's going to be very interesting that, how do you keep building that team, right? Visionaries who can keep giving more and more opportunities for people to execute, and people who execute well give more and more bandwidth for people to kind of, make the vision larger.
Out of my own personal experience, I've seen that once I say 1 year into a company, working for, when I've worked in the past, 1 or 2 years, this is what some say 10 years back, right? I get bored. So I used to think as to why am I getting bored? So it's that I felt it's like a kid, right? So if you don't give it something continuously stimulating, then it's going to come and cry. And otherwise you give your task and it will keep doing something like that, right? So if you feel saturated, there's nothing new to work on, there's nothing mind stimulating to work on, then I feel like, I should change my job. So not from that pressure perspective, but do you think for team members, if they have good things to work on, apart from the money being, either the bank balance keeps on growing, so it is stimulating for them, so you can spend it on a lot of different things, or you give them a great vision to work on, and there's still, even after say 5 years done, there's still a lot more to do. Is it that way?
So the second one is the way you need to keep on bringing the newness on the product, but at the same time start bringing your existing products also to the maturity level. So again, there needs to be a balance between the newness and the matureness. So you cannot every 1 month you're launching new product without going deep into your existing product, because the investment, time, energy that you have put it across in your existing one, you have not been able to extract the entire value to it or had made it more mature. But at the same time, you still try to have certain kind of what next set of problems that your customer will be facing it across. How about to start building those particular platforms to solve those particular problems? So effectively, again, over here also you need to fine tune the balancing. It's more about a balancing act. Again, what should be the weights in those two brackets between the new product versus matureness of your existing product is something is extremely situational. So that is where, but yeah, for a new talent, for any talent which is really aspiring, had lot of zeal to work extremely hard, you need to provide some newness to them, which could be a stimulating factor for them uh, to really still keep on loving what they are doing it.
Like Swiggy, right? I mean, for a long time they were into deliveries, and then the Instamart comes, and the Minis come, and the Dine Out comes, and then that's on a business level, and on the app and feature level also, right? I mean, I feel every day they are adding something or the other which is a little bit different and a little bit unique, right? When the Chandrayaan 3 happens, and then there's all moon all over, and when you use icons and all. So I feel, I mean, so there's so much to do for them. It's not like that they have arrived and they have saturated. No. So you keep reinventing, you keep building, and sometimes I think it doesn't work out also. Like we had Uber Eats in India, we had Food Panda in India, which didn't work, right? So very interesting. So I think I have had a fair amount of questions that I have asked you. I must also confess and tell you that I have been really impressed because I've seen you. We've been in WeWork, I think, for what, like 2-3 years now? 2 years now, and since the day you guys came in, were you 2 years here? Yeah. So I've seen you taking multiple offices, and then we got connected. So I think I've got to learn in whatever we have interacted. I've got to learn so much from both of you. Keep inspiring, and I think I at least get to learn a lot. So I ask you a lot of questions when we meet also. So, and from on behalf of our team, thank you so much for taking out time.
Thank you for having us over, and we hope that Onsurity can keep doing the work that they do, that we can possibly have the impact that we're trying to create.
Right. So thank you so much.